This is a rough one because I'm against government surveillance because it always goes too far. As individual power rises with the development of technologies, the need for being surveilled rises as well. If we had a better government, should we do a better government? Like, yes. That's a really dumb fucking question. There is this Swiss philosopher in the early 19th century who noticed already how automation was going to affect the economy. And what he proposed back then... Alright, click here to start. Give me the full version. Local governments should have more power than they currently do. I mean, in France, I would say yes. In the US, I would say no. It's a bit of a weird one. Yeah, you have to base the questions only where you're living, yeah. A country cannot function without a national government. Strongly agree. Local governments address issues that the national government would never touch without them. Agree. In the modern era, militaries aren't really necessary. Disagree. It is important that we maintain the traditions of our past. I'm neutral on that. There are good traditions, there are bad traditions. Traditions aren't bad or good by themselves. The human-caused climate change is currently one of the greatest threats to our way of life. Agree. Only our national languages should be spoken in our country. Strongly disagree, that's fucking insane. Illegal immigrants do not provide a benefit to the hosting country. Disagree. Government surveillance is necessary in the modern world. Oh, that's a rough one. Jesus loves you? Well, I love Jesus too. This is a rough one because I'm against government surveillance because it always goes too far. But there is this there is this reality that as individual power rises with the development of technologies, the need for being surveilled rises as well. Like to take it to an extreme, imagine a sci-fi scenario where we all have access to instead of like 3D printers, we all have access to nanomachines, and we can do like nanomachine stuff or crazy nanomachine stuff all the time. Like we can all start a gray goo event. If that happened, every single individual, by making a mistake or willfully, could start an end of the world scenario. That's a gray goo event. So surveillance would actually need to be much more important, at least of this technology, in that hypothetical world. Or like basically imagine if everyone had a nuclear had like a miniaturized nuclear powered nuclear reactor. I was thinking surveillance like CCTV on the streets, yeah, which I'm not a fan of. I don't like CCTV. Like we already know where it leads to with the China facial recognition stuff. Nanomachines? Oh no, the worst text editor. What dystopian future is this exactly? Surveillance is different from security or protecting WMDs. Yes, but surveillance is necessary when every individual has heightened power. Like the level of surveillance necessary, but do we? Well, we do actually, yeah. We currently have much more power than we had, say, 30, 40 years ago, just technologically speaking. The fact that someone with the right tools and knowledge could, say, hack or spread a virus that can, say, interfere with industrial processes, with infrastructure, such and such, makes random individuals much more dangerous than they would have been 30, 40 years ago, when those things weren't going to be possible. I'm going to disagree on principle. Government surveillance always goes too far and is abused. War usually leads to worse outcomes. Yeah, almost always. Religion is beneficial for society. Honestly, I'm gonna be controversial on it. I'm gonna go neutral. Unironically, yes, but it depends on Well, there is this thing where religion is actually kind of a glue that holds that stabilizes societies, but it also keeps societies backwards. It blocks them from social and technological progress. It's a status quo. It's a thing that keeps the inertia of the status quo, which also stabilizes. So, like, it's a double-edged sword. So I'll go neutral on it. States cannot function without a strong national government. Agree. Oh, a strong national government. Wait. Not just a national government, a strong national government. I don't know if the government needs to be strong. No, I'll say it needs to be strong, especially nowadays. Police need more power and protection. More power, no. Protection, no. I'll disagree. Lasting peace leads to prosperity. Strongly agree. Faith is complete nonsense. I disagree. We should be taking in more refugees. ANCAP, let's go. Yeah. Yeah, strong has a negative connotation on it, but to enact policy, it needs to be effective, i.e. strong. Yeah, I agree. That's why I said I ended up agreeing. We should be taking in more refugees. That depends, but in the case of France, I think France can actually take in more refugees. Peace is preferable to war whenever possible. Whenever possible is the key word here. Yeah, I agree with you, Spaniard. It depends on the quantity of refugees, of course. It depends on the country's budget, the social security systems, etc. And like the most important part in taking in refugees is taking them in properly, which is sadly something that's too far often not done. People should have the right to leave their wealth to their descendants. Yeah, I agree. I actually am okay with inheritance. It is important that we further my group's goals above all others. No, I think the good of society as a whole should be furthered. It is important that the government follows the majority opinion, even if it is wrong. That's a rough one. No, if it's wrong, it's wrong. I disagree. Inflation? Yeah, I need to change the stream title. I hate questions like that, dude, whenever possible. Yeah, you can think of like different ways of turning it around. All right, let me rename the stream. I'm sorry, you missed the inflation stream. But we were just talking about the reading some article about the recent stuff. The thing is, I got into discussion before the stream with some people in streams where I was arguing that the current state of inflation is mostly caused by the monetary policy and the COVID relief funds. Yeah, I agree with you, Sozo. Change stream to Valorant, yeah. The more people ask, the better chance there is of reaching the best decision. Oh man, that's a rough one. That's just not true. That really depends. Did you see that Krugman tweet yesterday, today, by the way? Yeah. Tally linked it to me. That's what we were talking about. Yeah, this is just not true. Like, if it's well, it depends if it's an expert question or. But yeah. Children should be educated in religious values. Nah. I disagree with the should. Religious clothing should be banned from public. Disagree. Society was better many years ago than it is now. Strongly disagree. The United Nations should be abolished. Strongly disagree. Nations fighting among each other gets in the way of progress. Agree. The elders in society know the best path for it. Disagree. There should be compulsory military service. Disagree. What I would like to see more is compulsory civil service, not military service. There must be a separation between church and state. Strongly agree. Representatives rarely represent the nation well. I actually mildly agree with that. Their representative democracy has huge issues that we've seen. That we've seen. Minimum 2 years of military service. I don't like military service. I think it's dumb. If you're not at war, it's fucking stupid. But I agree with the idea of service. I like civil service. Have you read Brothers Karamazov? They talk about church and state. I'm reading it currently. It's some interesting stuff. Yeah, I haven't finished it yet, but I actually am reading Brothers Karamazov right now. I like being serviced. Banger alert. People born to wealthy families have unfair success even when they aren't skilled and don't work hard. Agree. Genetic modification should be used rarely, if ever. Strongly disagree. There are values in the military that will enhance your levels of respect and selfless service, but there are values in civil. You can have those values in civil service. Neyman and Fash arc. What do I? Hey, BreeCP. How are you doing? But my main problem, explain what you mean by civil service. So, for example, civil service could be working in homes for the elderly, doing things that represent a service to society, going to cleaning up streets, working in homes for the elderly, doing all sorts of more or less menial jobs. Maybe get trained for like the more advanced versions of those jobs. Say like you could start training to become a nurse, stuff like that. But doing jobs that represent a service to society. That's what I mean by civil service. And you can, that will still inculcate values and have you work as a part of society. For me, there's no discipline structure in civil service. Well, there is. You take orders and you have to do the things. Civil service isn't going to teach upcoming adults to be real people. Respect has to be beaten into them. That's fucking insane, Decoy. And yeah, the military culture is way too nationalistic. That's my main problem as well with military service. If you look, for example, at the discourse in Israel over things like the Israel-Palestine conflict, and you see the propagandistic effect of military service in Israeli society, and I think it has a negative effect on Israeli society. It makes everyone think the same in this very militaristic, nationalistic way. Nah, fam, you kind of have to do it. Whereas in the military, they have to respect those above them. Dude, I didn't do military service, and I turned out as a perfectly functional, degenerate weeb. Okay? So fuck off. What about South Korea's mandatory service? I don't know enough about South Korea's culture to weigh in on whether it changes or it affects their society that much or not. But South Korea does have its own problems, especially when it comes to being a functioning democracy or not. I don't agree with the nationalistic part. I think it leads more towards patriotism. It always has strong overlap with nationalism, though. Military tends to, it's kind of like yes, I worked with South Korea's ROK and CAT USA. I'm an ex-army. Oh, that's pretty awesome. You are on a base in South Korea. I don't see any meaningful difference between Israel and South Korea's mandatory service. Where were you posted, if it's not too indiscreet? I just don't know if it's as propagandistic. And also, like, the weird, okay, the weird thing is, the South Korean military service is going to be very propagandistic against North Korea, except that North Korea is actually a fucking horrible, horrible state. Whereas Palestine also has Hamas and a huge terrorism problem, but also is like a bunch of people who just want to live their fucking lives, and so it's maybe I'm biased, maybe I misunderstand. Maybe in like South Korea they don't acknowledge the fact that like North Korean citizens are victims of the situation as well, but my impression was that South Koreans do understand that North Koreans are victims of their government, and they don't wish violence on North Koreans. I'm pretty sure they don't wish violence on North Koreans, whereas it is something that happens in Israel. Like Israelis wish violence on Palestinians. They're like, well, they should stop supporting Hamas if they want us to stop bombing us. Like, that's actual discourse in Israel. Not like, oh, they're victims too, but like, well, they should stop supporting Hamas and then we'll stop bombing them. From my interpretation from South Koreans, they feel bad about what's happening in North Korea. Yeah. Yeah, they actually want to be one country. Yeah, I guess it's also different in that there is a complete different intention. Does North Korea ever actually cause deaths, attacks on South Korea? It happens from time to time, but it's pretty rare. There are issues. There are incidents that happen from time to time, though. But it's pretty rare, yeah. Anyways, religious organizations often provide better assistance to the poor than the government does. Strongly disagree. I strongly disagree on that one because I don't like humanitarian organizations seemingly being the only solution for people in need. It's governments that have the scope and the power to actually uplift people out of poverty in meaningful ways. Humanitarian organizations can only ever act as band-aids, and the religious organizations specifically tend to, there are many instances of abuse. There have been like Christian or Muslim organizations that go into countries and that, for example, refuse to help them if they don't worship. They refuse to help people if they don't convert. They abuse their positions to cause, well, unethical things to happen. Because I'm sure that's a legitimate reason to feel like stop supporting Hamas and this wouldn't happen when there are not infrequent attacks between Israel and Palestine, to say nothing of whether they are right or wrong. It's a reason, yeah, but it's a fucked up thinking too. When you acknowledge that it's okay to bomb civilians because you want them to, like, it's also an obvious cycle of hatred. The more you bomb the civilians, the more they'll support Hamas. Those are the kinds of events that create support for Hamas. It's a really fucked up way of thinking. But yeah, I understand it as a reason. I don't think it's a good reason, but I understand it. We have no right to militarily intervene in other nations. I mildly disagree. I enjoy some foreign cultures. Strongly agree. Technological progress is usually good. Yeah. It's a good idea to test the policy in one state rather than implementing it nationwide right away. Usually, yeah, I would agree. It would be nice if policymaking was a bit more scientific in general. Both Israelis and Palestinians understandably feel like stop doing X and we'll stop doing Y because there's constant conflict, whereas in North Korea, South Korea, it's more or less a bloodless conflict. Yeah, I agree. Illegal immigrants should be deported in most or all cases. Disagree. The freer the market, the freer the people. I actually disagree. There is a point up to which this is true, but there is a point of the minute where it becomes untrue. If you have nothing to hide, then you shouldn't care about the government having access to your communications. Strongly disagree. There are if anyone disagrees with this, with my answer here, there are very easy court cases that explain why that is false. Liberalism intensifies. I can go into detail on why that's wrong. Alliances can pose a threat to a nation's sovereignty. I am for alliances anyways, but that's actually partially true. It's okay to surrender sovereignty in return for becoming part of a greater thing. Military spending is a waste of money. Disagree. Sadly, I wish we lived in a world where it was a waste of money, but we're not. We don't. Diplomacy only hurts nations. What? What the fuck is the reasoning for that? How do you come at diplomacy hurts nations? Absolute freedom makes a society dangerous. Strongly agree. People should have to work for anything they get. Should. I think anarchists would agree with that question. Maybe, yeah. Post all your DMs on Twitter if you have nothing to hide, yeah. I'm gonna strongly disagree because of the should. The language here implies that even if people didn't have to work, that we should make them work out of some like arbitrary principle, which like we have to work. We have to work in the way the present world works, and that's fine. Like that isn't like that's okay. But this idea that people should work out of principle, I disagree. Religion should be removed from everything in our government. Yes, strongly agree. Automation overall is extremely good for society. Okay. This is something I've brought up on stream a couple times in the past 2 years. There is this Swiss philosopher in the early 19th century who noticed already how automation was going to affect the economy. He saw how it basically started with the not the printing press, the weaving machine. The weaving machine. He noticed that the weaving machine allowed factory owners to put in one machine and replace 50 weavers making like tapestries and clothes. The loom machine, yeah, thank you, Cowder. The loom machine would replace 50 people with 5 people. And what he proposed back then, which I find fascinating, and I wish so fucking hard that we had gone down that route. It would be kind of hard to implement nowadays because the precedent isn't there, but it would have been the perfect solution to automation. What he proposed was that the automation to tax the machines, yes, basically that. So if you look at what that represents, so you have a factory and you have like say profits and automation. So as automation goes up, profits increase. You are able to create more with less. However, you need capital. At every point you upgrade your that you upgrade your factory, you need capital to improve the machines, to replace the workers with machines. So what this philosopher came at was a pretty fair way of balancing it. The exact numbers would need some work, but basically let's go with a 50-50 split. Once you start automating, say like this automation A brought up profits from here to here. So his idea was that 50% of those profits were going to be taxed and were going to be paid off to the workers who are laid off in order to so they could either have early retirement or trained in a different job. Or just like as an employment wages to help them find another job, etc., etc. That money would basically go to the workers who were laid off, and the rest of the money would go back to the investors who allowed the automation in the first place, and like basically the normal capitalist cash flow of investors and reinvesting in the factory, etc., etc. Best of both worlds. The people who are laid off by the automation, they still they have their social security guaranteed by the profits from the automation, and there's still incentive for investment. There's still payback to the investment. You still have capital and capitalism functioning the way it's supposed to function. That's basically unemployment benefits, another government program. Yes, I said earlier I'm a social democrat. I like people being protected from the terrible things that can happen in life, like losing your job. And I think the government is the best place to protect them from those things. Like, I live in France. I pay taxes that go into guaranteeing unemployment benefits, and I'm all for that. I would love it if it got replaced with UBI and stuff like that, but it's pretty good. Yeah, I like that. So automation is a good when its downsides are properly regulated for. So I'll soft agree. I support gay marriage. Yeah. The constant state of war benefits a country. Strongly disagree. Excessive government intervention is a threat to the economy. For the most part, I disagree, but it can actually be a problem to the economy. There are points where it's problematic. I usually disagree with that statement. Democracy is more than a decision-making process. What the fuck does that mean? I actually don't understand this question. I don't know. All humans share a common identity. Strongly agree. Everybody should speak at least 2 languages, if possible, yeah. For me, if a country has to do layoffs, the company should put you in a trade school by their payment to teach you another trade to get you back in the workforce. This helps the issue with the rich being rich because it's taking money from them. Well, yeah. Well, that's what I was describing there. Like the money, what that philosopher described was the money going into. No, I'm not coming, Nept. No, I'm gonna do this first. What the not using government funds and taxpayer dollars. Wait, you misunderstood what I was talking about, Spaniard. I was talking about literally the company, the factory that laid off people, replacing them with machines, paying for their retraining for like trade school or for like early retirement if they're near retirement age, because you know, why the fuck would they go to trade school if they're like 5 years from retirement? It would be the factory paying that, but through tax. I said through taxes because that's like the easy way to do it. Like the profits, the additional capital gains through automation would be offset with the helping out the workers who got laid off, was the idea. All right, maybe I expressed myself, but I use the word tax, but that's what I meant. It should be the CEOs and owners of the company. Well, then you make the company pay for it. That's you don't make individual people pay for it just because they own part of the company. You make the company pay for it. Maintaining, and you make the way we make companies pay for things in most countries is through taxes. That's why I talked about taxes. Maintaining family values is essential. The problem is, like, for most people, what that means is, what's the benefit of automating if it is equal to the cost of taxation? None. That's why you make the cost of taxation lower than the benefits of automating. In the paint schematic I just made, I literally proposed a 50% split between the benefit of 50% of the benefits go back into the capitalist system. They reimburse the investors, they reimburse the etc., and 50% go to the workers. So there is still a benefit from automating. It's just 50% smaller. That's all I described. I didn't see that I was eating a chicken wing. Well, not my problem. Anyways, maintaining family values is essential. Thing is, I actually, as much as I'm progressive, I am for family values. I like family values. I like family values, but progressive family values. I like family values with, like, you know, gay families, straight families, whatever kinds of families work for you. But like having good values in those families of like loving each other and supporting each other, and help, etc. That's what I'm for. Wait, I think you're thinking of the question too far. It should apply to you. Well, the problem is that I know what this question means for most people, and for most people it means conservative, traditional family values, with whom I actually disagree. I'm not sure how I should respond to this question, which bothers me. But like by my own definition of family values, I agree with it. Because for me, family values are love and support. You know what? You get what I mean? I'm gonna go unsure. Laws should not be based on religion. Strongly agree. Immigrants can never really adapt to our way of life. Strongly disagree. The national government can't understand what the people need. Mildly disagree. I think mom, dad, love and support, respect for one another. Have no idea there was a conservative label. Well, it's a conservative label because for a lot of people it means well, mom, dad, but like not in the symbols of mom, dad, but in like gay parent, a gay couple should never be parents, for example. Which, me being socially progressive, believing that gay people should be allowed to marry and have families, like obviously that's a problem for me. Yeah, or you know, we could go in like in the US there was a Christian organization called Focus on the Family. Really sad how family values has been hijacked as a label, for sure. Yeah, whoever the parent is, still love and support, respect for one another. The main pronoun can be easily. Yeah, I 100% agree with you, Spaniard. That's why I'm like, I'm for that. What you just said, Spaniard, I'm 100% for that. I love that. 100%. A country must be sure to take all measures to enforce its laws. I actually disagree. Laws should not always be enforced. I know this is a controversial statement for some people, but being able to apply discernment in when you apply laws and when you don't is actually pretty useful. In general, immigrants are bad for the country. It's nuanced. It can be bad, it can be good. It really depends on situations and how they can be taken into the country. I wouldn't go like on any general statement. People should think of themselves as citizens of their nation rather than their state. I think people should think themselves as citizens of the world, honestly. Citizens of their nation rather than their state. What does that mean? What's the difference between being a citizen of a state and a citizen of a nation? Because like in Europe we talk about nation states. Oh, this is like an American question. This is an American question. Like this makes no sense to someone living in Europe like me. Because we talk about nation states. Nation state is the same thing. Sure, as an American I'll agree. You know what? I'll even strongly agree. Marijuana should be legalized, sure. I always knew the truth would come out someday. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Believing that gay people should be allowed to marry and have families, like obviously that's a problem for me. Believing that gay people should be allowed to marry and have families, like obviously that's a problem for me. Oh no. Basic things need to live, such as healthcare, are rights. I agree. The government has no business looking into most people's personal lives. Strongly agree. Busted, yeah. Religion usually provides the truth. Strongly disagree. Know with heart he should be left unquestioned. Strongly agree. All societies are a blend of cultures. Strongly agree. Popular opinion is not always right. Strongly agree. When people have already suffered for technology to be developed, we should use that technology. Yeah, sure. War is never justified. Disagree. If it's American, it still reads really, really strangely, but maybe this test is written by dum-dums. War bad. There are many issues that does not make sense to address at a local level. That is true as well, yeah. Democracy makes it too easy for a majority to further itself at the expense of minorities. Democracy is the rule of the majority by in principle, yes, it's true. Democracy is like the rule of the majority, right? Yeah. Public utilities like roads and electricity should be publicly owned. I actually agree with that. Yeah. Religion should be banned. Strongly disagree. The national government protects minorities better than some local governments do. Fuck, I don't know. I don't know. I would need data to respond to that question. That's a weird one. We should put effort into getting a person on Mars in the near future. Four-eyed fuck. Sorry, I felt that was a good introduction. Hello, Zipper Eater. How are you doing? Long time no see. I disagree. I think the local government has protected more. It depends. There are instances where the local government protected minorities more. There are instances where the national government stepped in to stop a local government from oppressing minorities. To state that one does more than the other, you would need like a huge like quantitative and qualitative analysis of like 100 years of policy making. I think you can't really state one way or the other, just on like I'm just thinking about the U.S., right? Like you have instances of it going both ways, where like a local government does something that can be bad for minorities, and the national government steps in, or like goes up to the federal constitutional court and gets thrown out. Typically, like Roe versus Wade stuff, for example, right? You have you get a lot of people. You get a lot of like Republican states being super against abortion, but then like putting in anti-abortion laws, and they need to go all the way up to the constitutional court to be overturned, where you literally have the federal government stepping in to protect women's rights in those cases. We should put effort into getting a person on Mars in the near future. I think I disagree. That's not. I like the space exploration is important and all. I'm not gonna minimize it, but it's not that important. Like fuck Elon Musk. Elections are an effective way of showing government approval. Sure. Genetic modification is a force for good, even on humans. Yeah. The general populace makes poor decisions. Nan, who cares? They abort babies after months of being born and then put them in a fucking blender. What the fuck are you on about, Zipper Eater? Don't be jealous of the baby milkshakes, okay? It's better than it's the ideal protein shake. The general populace makes poor decisions. It depends. Strongly agree. Okay, about abortion, I agree it shouldn't happen, but only for exceptions like rape, or the condition where it will kill the mother or child. And I'm pro-abortion rights, so I see individual states pushing the limits of Roe v. Wade being infringing on women's freedoms. Are you okay with rape babies being put into blenders? Yes. Yeah, I that's why I said like I'm not denying that space programs advance our interests a lot. What if this was a real high quality blender? All the better. Countries that violate human rights should be toppled. I'll actually disagree on that. On this, it's. You can't magically intervene in a country and guarantee that it'll get better. Laws should be completely consistent within all regions of a nation. I agree. That's one of the biggest problems in the US. The fucking different laws in every state is fucking insanity. The sacrifice of some civil liberties is necessary to protect us from acts of terrorism. You have to apply to France, lol. I mean, it asks if it should be that way, so it doesn't matter. I applied to France as well. The law should be the same everywhere in France. It should be, yes, it is, and it should be. No problem. Hey, Darkest Mystill, how are you doing? Fuck. The problem is, sacrificing some civil liberties is actually necessary to protect us from things. But the Patriot Act and all that shit has been pretty obviously abused and gone way too far. I'll go with disagree, since that's what it is referring to. A military option should always be considered. From a leading a state perspective, sure. The poor choose to be poor. Strongly disagree. Whistleblowers should be strongly protected. Strongly agree. Border protection is important. Agree. TSA agent had to check my shoes. Before I could tune in today. Patriot Act is around. No, okay, Spaniard. I have to tell you, I'm Schrodinger's nationality. Okay, I was born in the U.S. I'm actually a U.S. citizen. I live in France, and my family's from Poland. So I pretty much like choose where I am from, whatever serves my purpose today. Okay. Coward. Pick a side. I disagree with whistleblowers because it could be a trap or a setup. It could be a political party member running propaganda. I think that is admittedly a problem, but or that could be a problem, but you still need to protect whistleblowers. The onus, the power imbalance is usually against the whistleblowers in almost always, so you need to protect the whistleblowers. Fuck the TSA, fuck socialism. Okay, now socialism is when TSA. We have learned something. Government-owned industry is usually a bad idea. It depends on what industry. So my personal theory on this is that industries that are of national interest should be government-owned. So an obvious example is military. Military should be government-owned. Police should be government-owned as an industry. Healthcare is a national interest. So I think at the very least, healthcare should be a mixed economy. There should be public hospitals that are publicly funded, and then you could also have like private clinics. I don't mind it being a mixed economy. Education as well. Nationalize the fucking banks. Maybe. I would have to think about it. But so I'm gonna go neutral on this because it really depends on what industry. Energy, yes, energy is a good one. Energy is in national interest and should be very, very strongly overseen by the government. We should respect those who have served in our military. So I feel like, I'm sorry, Spaniard, like, I feel like the US like military warship thing tends to go too far sometimes. It like some examples of it are really cringy, but in and of itself, like just the statement, I agree. Like I respect you for having served, and I respect I'll respect anyone for having served. If utilities are ran by privatized owners, it would literally become a monopoly, and they could exploit pricing. Yeah, and that's stuff that happens. Yeah. Local governments can understand their citizens better than the national government could. Well, yeah, they generally understand local problems better. Most drugs should be legalized. Honestly, I'll agree. We should be more accepting to other cultures, sure. The government should not regulate the economy at all. I strongly disagree. Abortion should be legal in all cases. Thank you for appreciating people who have served. It was our honor to serve for the people. Well, I can't speak for all, but it was my honor. Another thing why energy should be government owned, in my opinion, is because it's a basic need at this point. Things of basic need that cannot be easily provided should not be for profit. Absolutely, I 100% agree. Plus, putting it under government oversight and government ownership makes it all the more simpler. Where, say, like, think about what happens if a country's energy infrastructure gets attacked. Like a hack shuts down all the power plants. That's actually an attack on the country. But if it's private companies, it's not actually an attack on the country. But like that would be that should be considered an act of aggression, like a military act, if it's done by government interests, obviously. You're still a baby blender denier. You're a bitch mate. What the fuck are you on about, Zephyr? I remember you. Okay, I remember you being in chat and being like slightly trollish, but like, you know, okay. And what happened today? You like rolled up in here and you're all about those baby blenders. Anyways, for the most part, abortion should be legal, I believe. One of my greatest moments in my army history is where we had to put on our rain suits and go out in South Korea and save people from the typhoon, creating mudslides. Yeah, that's one of the most important roles of the army in peacetime. It's intervening in natural disasters or times of crisis, for sure. And mad respect to you for helping people then, yeah. A government must maintain a strong military to defend itself, yeah. Immigrants should be expected to learn the language of the country, yeah. Oppression by corporations is, well, with one weird exception. There is this meme where the US is kind of weird about that. The US doesn't have an official language. It's why you can go into like any kind of court process and have them like translate the entire court proceedings into like Swahili for you. If you're like, well, I speak Swahili. I'm an American citizen. I speak Swahili. That is so dumb too. Yeah, it's weird. The US should make their national language English. Yeah. The only problem I see with that is, man, I got mad at some point as an immigrant in France. There was this one situation where I got really mad at the French administration people. I was in the police, like renewing my immigration papers, and I was just like waiting on a bench, and the lady at the reception, she's obviously like taking in immigrants. The lady at the reception, she there's this guy who came who was from like Spain, who spoke very broken French and then like switched to English with a big like Spanish accent. And she went, like at some point during him explaining his situation, she like went mad at him and started saying, "We're in France here. You should speak French." It's like, oh my god, lady, you fucking. She was like a fucking boomer too. You're working at the reception in the Office of Immigration. Of course, people are not gonna speak good French. They need to have immigrated and be living here in order to learn French. You can't expect them to have learned perfect French before they have even sorted out their immigration papers. Of course, they're going to need to sometimes speak in English, or which is the fucking international language of the world. Yeah, she was in the Office of Immigration, and she was bitching someone out for not speaking French. I thought that was super cringe. Like, that is a situation where it's normal for someone not to speak the language yet. But yeah, props to you, Spaniard, for learning English. Oppression by corporations is more of a concern than oppression by governments. Actually, I'll agree. She'd be transferred out of that department. I honestly, I should have filed an anonymous complaint about it. Yeah, I wanted to. If it were Russian, she would have had her teeth knocked out. Wait, what the fuck? The government should support and only recognize one religion. Strongly disagree. Quality of outcome is important. To a lesser extent. I don't believe in equality of outcome, but I believe in a minimum of outcome. That's what we think when we think about like the right to have a house, the right to like the equality of I prefer equality of opportunity to equality of outcome. But I do want people to have a minimum of outcome, even if people made the wrong choices or whatever happened in their lives. I do think they should deserve to live out comfortable lives. So I'll disagree. It is better to maintain a balanced budget than to ensure welfare for all citizens. I disagree. Especially since we run our governments based off of debt. So running a balanced budget is actually really bad. The quality of outcome is based on your choice. Well, we can go into like the illusion of choice as well. Most of what we do ends up being linked to various determinisms, right? Traditions are of no value on their own. I'll actually disagree on this. People should not have protections that could hinder discovering their criminal activity. I strongly disagree. There is no need for a national government. I strongly disagree. A united world government would be beneficial to mankind. I actually agree. The nation's culture is important to protect. I don't think cultures are things that you should necessarily as much. 99 is a deep question. Wait, which one was that? Oh, traditions are of no value on their own. It really depends on the traditions. Anyways, where was I at? Yeah, this I strongly disagreed. There's no need for a national government. I strongly disagree. A united world government would be beneficial to mankind. I agree. A nation's culture is important to protect. I disagree. Like cultures evolve and change over time. They should not be. They should not be. Protected the way the people who talk about culture war mean it. Those who do not work should die. Strongly disagree. Laws should vary from area to area and culture to culture within a country. Strongly disagree. The stronger the leadership, the better. Disagree. The government must be by the people for the people. Sure. Environmental regulations are essential. Strongly agree. We should not allow any refugees. Disagree. I support regional unions such as the European Union. Strongly agree. Each person should have one vote and each equal to every other. Sure. Direct democracy is the best form of government. Agree. A group of states without a strong national government is merely an alliance, not a nation. I don't know. I believe in a higher power. I don't know. I'm agnostic. Internet should be banned, yes. When you're done with this, the outcome is going to be sissy male mid-20s. Joke's on you! I'm 33 or 32. Wait, direct democracy is super shit, isn't it? Go tell that to Switzerland. I wish I could vote on laws directly instead of having representatives. I think indirect legislative chambers are really cringe, honestly. A hierarchical state is best. What does that mean? Police should be regulated more. Actually, yes. People should have equal opportunities to succeed. Strongly agree. Vote for me, AOC, my queen. Still young, dick game probably perfected. You know it. Even when protesting an authoritarian government, violence is not acceptable. Strongly disagree. Violence is a tool. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Technology is negatively affecting modern society. I'll actually disagree. Those who disagree with the government should be removed from the country. Strongly disagree. Any deals with other countries that other countries want must be bad for us. Disagree. And if you said asking more people does not improve outcomes, curious. I know, right? I'll deal bad. Governments should be as concerned about foreign citizens as they are about those within their borders. The problem for me is the should word here. In an ideal world, we should all be concerned about all human beings. A lot of these questions can be used in your next debate panel show. I know, right? Some of those are really good questions. Governments should be concerned in an ideal world by all human beings, but that's impractical. You can't have especially in a democracy. It's just impossible. You cannot have a government put other people's interests above its own citizens. It's insane. It's insanity. So I'll disagree. A national government must be strong to adequately protect all its citizens. To a certain extent, yes. Immigrants are net positive. To a certain extent. There's a limit to it, but yes. The wealthy have far more than they need. Yeah. People's freedom should have no limits. Disagree. Foreigners should never enter the country. Disagree. Capitalism is better than any existing alternative. With caveats. Capitalism, like I'm saying, like I like capitalism with a bunch of other stuff tacked onto it to control its excesses. But technically, I think I have to answer that I agree. Democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the others we've tried. Yeah, sure. Let's go with the meme question. If you do capitalism versus socialism, so for me, well, the weird thing is, it's like some people would say I'm socialist, but I because I'm a social democrat. But it's like for certain Americans that would be, or like that would be considered like socialist. I don't know. Nobody but me can adequately represent my views. No, not necessarily true. My nation should stay out of international affairs. No. Only those who serve in the military should be allowed to have influence on who is in power. Strongly disagree. Military action by our nation is often necessary to protect it. Is it often necessary? It really depends on the nation. Knew you were sissy. Yes, I'm a bitch sissy boy. I'm a sussy baka. Theocracy is a good system of government. Strongly disagree. The benefits of open borders would outweigh the costs. I mean, if you look at, say if we look at the European Union, for example, the Schengen space, the open borders within the European Union, definitely the benefits outweigh the costs, for sure. I'll actually agree. Traditional medicines are often more effective than modern medicines. This is no. Yo, Zephyr Eater. Promoting someone like another Twitch stream in a Twitch stream without like asking about it is kind of a faux pas in the Twitch culture. Can you like stop? Like you asked me to check out that streamer. I will check her out, but right now I'm doing something else too. I'm sorry, no worries, apologies accepted. I'll go check her out, but I'm busy with this right now. I'm not gonna get derailed. There is no need for local or state governments. Disagree. Strongly disagree, actually. Subdivisions of nations should have their own militaries. Strongly disagree. I think the military should be at the nation-state level. I believe there's something after death. I don't know. No cultures are superior to others. There are cultures that I would prefer living in than others. If that's the question, then I would prefer that. Then I would consider some superior to, like, for me to live in. But in the absolute sense, I actually think all cultures are equal, yeah. There should not be international law. Disagree. Every religion must be looked upon equally by the government. Yeah. Cannibalistic island culture is worse than any culture. Not for them. From each according to his ability, to each according to his need. Yeah, I think people's needs should be fulfilled in an ideal society. The United Nations should have a military to enforce its resolutions. No, the problem is you can't have... Okay, this is just a basic logic problem. The United Nations include nearly every single nation in the world. So you can't have them having a military that can intervene against its own members. So it would be a toothless military, since like the members wouldn't want to be attacked by their own by the military that they funded by being members of the United Nations. It would be insane. The government should monitor all citizens to combat terrorism. From my experience being ex-army, United Nations really... Well, that's another problem too. They never do anything. That's absolutely true. The government should monitor all citizens to combat terrorism. Strongly disagree. People must be allowed to follow a religion. Sure. Catering to popular opinion is detrimental to a nation. Yeah. National cultures are important to protect. That mildly disagree. Like this, actually, like this idea of protecting culture. How do you square your answer to 147 with your view on government surveillance from before? Because that question was about surveying all citizens. I'm okay with if there's reasonable grounds to suspect the person from being involved in terrorist activities, you submit the like investigation to a judge, and the judge approves wiretapping them and surveillance. Like that there's a process there. There's oversight. There's a file on hand of like why we thought this person is involved in this and this illegal activity. That makes sense. And that protects people's freedoms. USA especially, special forces literally is teaching their military and how to be a military. Why is that our job? Well, you know, the US decided to be the worldwide police state. Do you believe America is awesome and all the other countries that aren't America just aren't as good as or worthwhile? I think America is great. I mean, the USA is great. America is a continent, not a state. I think the USA is great, and many other countries are great too. I mean, like what the DNC did on Trump with illegal wiretapping his communications. Yeah, illegal. Wait, was it illegal wiretapping? Didn't it go through? I don't remember the details. I thought they went through the correct process for the wiretapping. It's okay as a free eater. National cultures are important to protect. So I'll go neutral on it. I'll go disagree. Like culture tends to survive by itself. Well, the thing, yeah, the court request was on false evidence and illegalities. Like I know there was controversial eyewitness reports that were used to inform the court request, but it's I would have to read again about it. The last time I got into that discussion, I had to I had to I started like going down the rabbit hole of the whole like Russiagate investigation and everything, and it's yeah, it's I don't actually have a strong opinion on that stuff. I would need to read up on it again. There's not going to be a lot of private endeavors to help it. Yeah, the thing I'm thinking about right now is how, for example, I do like the fact that, say, to like take example on France, I like the fact that local cultures, say like Britain culture, are receive government subsidies to protect them and help them survive instead of being swallowed by the national culture. Y'all preserve castles, right? Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, actually, I'll agree. Like, cultural spending in a country is important. I can strongly agree, actually. Sure, law and order is important. Communism, if implemented correctly, would be a good form of economics. Keyword, if implemented correctly, meaning if like the government implemented the perfect fucking plans. Sure. Hey man, I just want to let you know, if everyone was sane, I think your social democrat thing probably would maybe be ideal, but everyone's blood-sucking psychotic primal monsters. You feel me or no? I feel you, but also in Europe, social democracies are perfectly functional. And we still are blood-sucking psychotic primal monsters, so it can work. It can work today in your country. Oh yeah, so what I don't have a strong opinion of. I haven't done enough research on the like Russiagate and then the DNC wiretapping of Trump stuff to have a strong opinion on it. I need to do more research on those questions, and I've been lazy about it. People should be given freedom whenever it causes a little security risk. Strongly agree. And nobody in other countries has our best interests in mind. Usually not, yeah. We must go back to a basic way of life without modern conveniences. Strongly disagree. I'm proud to be in my country. Yeah. TLDR, everything Trump says is a total lie. He was never wiretapped. Members of his campaign were under investigation and found guilty. I know that a lot of members of his campaign were found guilty of different things. I thought the wiretapping was real. I also know there's this controversy about there was this guy who provided false testimony concerning that parts of the investigation were based on, but then also parts of the investigation were based on very real things. But like the DNC committee lost a lot of credibility because of using that false testimony. Who the heck wrote this? There's another chat. Trump's Obamagate conspiracy theory just got blown to pieces. May 20th, 2020. Alright, we're gonna read that after. I'm proud to be in my country. Such a French response. It is more important to retain peaceful relations than to further our strength. Actually, yeah. My nation is closer to my views than most nations in the world. Actually, that happens to be true. If my nation is France, My nation is the US, then not really. Or Poland. Economies without any capitalism will collapse. In the present day world, for the most part, yes. Only those who served in the military should be able to gain power in government. Strongly disagree. Most bad things happening in the world are caused by us turning away from religion. I disagree. Alliances are important for protecting the nation. Sure. My religious values should be spread as much as possible. No. Strong states weaken a nation. That can happen, yeah. People should vote issue by issue themselves. Yes. The very existence of the state is a threat to our liberty. No. State laws should have precedence over national laws. No. Public opinion swings too much with emotional events to be useful for policy making. I mildly disagree, but there's a point to be had there. Our culture would be better with other cultures mixed in more. Yeah, I like multiculturalism. Never getting the jab, fuck school, fuck the government. COVID was accelerated in the lab and they're profiting off the cure. Fiat currency is a scam. Wow, so many speed running the fucking insanity there. Yo, Zephyr Eater. Don't Zephyr Eater, don't insult people. I'm gonna time you out if you continue doing that, okay? Don't call each other idiots or whatever. Be comfy. You can disagree on things and still be comfy. You're being like really aggressive. Telling you to just take a chill pill, okay? Our culture would be better with more with other cultures mixed in more. Yeah. A better world will come. There's already a bunch of cultures mixed in anyways here, so it's not like really a problem. That's why I'm like, I don't know if I want to agree, but whatever. A better world will come from automation, science, and technology. Not necessarily, no. A better, like, science, technology, and automation will help make a better world if we make the right decisions with them. They're just tools, and tools aren't, like, having more tools is better, but technology is not always beneficial. Yes, people should hold more loyalty to their local state than their country. No. In my link show, yeah, I put it in my tabs up here. I'll read it after. Victimless crimes such as drug use should not be crimes at all. Yes. Nations should not maintain a military. No. Some freedom must be given up in order to keep people safe. Yes. To chase progress at all costs is dangerous. Yes. Elections are a waste of resources. No. State and local laws should have precedence over national laws. No. A nation usually needs a military in order to survive. Yes. A nation must obey its leadership without question. No. War is needed to make an economy thrive. No. Taxes should be increased on the rich to provide for the poor. Yes, I like progressive taxation. The government should not fund any religious organizations in any way. Yes. Governments should be accountable to the international community. Yeah. It is important to maintain our national sovereignty. Depends. Religion does not belong in government. Yes. Traditions are important. Yeah. Sex outside marriage is immoral. Strongly disagree. Some freedom must be given up to keep people safe. Hell no, fuck no to that. Yes, I want absolute freedom. I want the freedom to roll up to your house and fucking jizz all over your windows, okay? That's the most important freedom of all. God damn, absolute freedom. This like absolute freedom argument is so fucking cringe, dude. I keep running into it every single time. Come just all over my windows, see what happens. You're free to try. You're about to get a frosting, my dude. You're about to get a free frosting all over your house. Hope you enjoy it. Having independent nations with the risk of global conflict creates a large threat to humanity as a whole. Yeah? We are first and foremost citizens of Earth. Strongly agree. Local governments give each region good representation of their views. Yes. Tradition just hinders the progress of technology. Sometimes it does. But I'll go neutral on this. It's usually just adjacent. People should have the power to choose their leaders. Yes. There should be no police force. No. Testing products on animals is ethical. I actually agree with that. I support a single-payer universal healthcare. Yes. Religion must decline for society to progress. I don't know. Leaders must be strong or a nation will suffer. Not necessarily, no. Countries will fall apart with constant war. Yes. Only extremely talented immigrants, if that, should be permitted to enter the country. No. Countries that do not serve our interests should be toppled. Strongly disagree. Diplomatic options should always be tried before war is even considered. Yes. International trade is generally beneficial. Yes. If we accept migrants at all, it is important that they assimilate into our culture. Yeah, to a certain extent. Not to like erase not that they should erase their own cultures and their own identities for it, but they should conform to the local culture to a certain extent. So many migrant questions, yep. Subdivisions should not be able to exempt from national laws, yes. In order for humanity to survive, we must get past having separate nations. At some point, yes. International aid is a waste of money, no. The government should not break up monopolies. Strongly disagree. Monopolies are horrible. The United Nations needs more power. The United Nations needs more power. I don't know about that one, though. We would need to be more united as nations for that to make sense. Like, we would need to agree on things collectively as a whole, humanity. The government should have access to the emails of suspected terrorists. Yeah, that's like wiretapping, putting them surveying suspected terrorists. I'm okay with that. Anybody who wants to enter the country should be able to. In an ideal world, honestly, yes. Society could not function without leaders and followers. Yeah, I struggle with believing in the whole anarchist thing of like there are no leaders, no hierarchies. Nations should cooperate whenever it benefits them both. Yeah. The national government needs more power. Not in France. If AI could rule more effectively than humans, then AI should rule. Well, yes, but that's a dumb question. Like, if AI could rule more effectively than humans, if we had a better government, should we do a better government? Like, yes. That's a really dumb fucking question. But the reality is, AI is not going to rule more effectively than humans. I mean, I agree with you, Spaniard. Hell no. Because I'm a software developer. I know how fucking broken AI is. But... Just look at the social media algorithm, so fucking trash. Like, the problem is the question is prepositing that AI could rule more effectively than humans. Oh, if AI could yeah, if that the AI will rule more effectively than humans. Wait, is this conditional? But yeah, I agree with you, Spaniard. AI should never rule over humans, and it will never be more effective than the humans. You could have AI informing policy decisions, but yeah. If your life would be better in the machine, would you go inside? Hells yeah. Why do you think I love the isekai? It is necessary for the government to intervene in the economy to protect consumers. Yes. I'm 63% unitary. 57% democracy. Moderate unitary, neutral on democracy versus authority, but more democracy. Moderate globalist. Moderate pacifist. Moderate freedom. Equality. Secular. Moderate progressive. And multiculturalist. Closest match, social democracy. Wow, what a surprise. My Facebook name on is part of the globalist agenda. Yes, there you go. Nice test. Yeah, it got the right answer. This is mine. Fanatic globalist. Holy shit, skits. What like worldview does it recommend you? Extreme equality. Wicked. Extreme multiculturalist. Wicked. He wants Star Trek, yeah.